Hello and welcome to this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest. I'm Dr. 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗡, and I'm the founder of the Academy of Light Medicine and the 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗡 Healing Method. So every week we do a new topic, and if you're new to my channel, would love for you to hit the subscribe button and perhaps the notification bell, so every time I do a new video, you will be notified. This week's topic is called the clarity of stillness. Now, before you run away, because you're like, yeah, stillness. That would have been me 10 years ago. Anyway, overwhelm. Let's talk about overwhelm. Okay, now I got your attention, right? Yes. So there's a lot of shifting things going on in the world, shifting energies, for lack of a better, more inclusive term. And that overwhelm is so common among sensitive souls. They almost feel like, well, sometimes leaving the planet, being on a deserted island, maybe, or maybe even in a room of solitude. It's funny how they actually punish prisoners that way, right? Sitting alone in a padded cell, or maybe not a padded cell, maybe it's not that cushy, in the dark, complete dark. And some of the sensitive souls are like, sure, I'll go there, right? But we have responsibilities, we have goals, we have a mission. So that's where the overwhelm can come in, because we think, well, we're supposed to be doing our mission, and I can't because of all the stuff going on in my life. Well, would you like some help? Now, it doesn't mean I'll necessarily fly to where you are and, do all your chores for you. I could barely do mine because I'm not really a chore person. That being said, I don't mind chores. I just have other things that are a priority. So people are like, oh, I can't do a priority. I have to do this or I have to do that. So here's the thing. Overwhelm is a sense of, it's almost a being state. It's not the ideal state for manifesting, for sure. And forcing yourself to sit down in a pretzel meditating for 45 minutes is, unless you already do it on a daily basis, is probably not going to cut it. It's going to be one extra thing that is on your to-do list, which is going to frustrate you and then make you feel like a failure because you didn't do it. And then the left brain's like, well, meditation is really good for you and you should sit and do that and take care of yourself better. And the right brain's like, F you, I'm really busy. Like, what's going on? I'm just overwhelmed, right? Well, no, actually, they're both the ego saying that, not your left, right brain. But anyway, it's for show. For sure, very difficult and challenging. So what do we do? First of all, it's okay to recognize there's a sense of overwhelm. You don't have to label it overwhelm, though. That's a little tip. Now, if you're talking to someone else, sometimes it's easier to communicate, I feel overwhelmed, right? And that's completely okay. Now, if you can redefine overwhelm, especially for sensitive souls, as feeling a gamut of energies that may or may not be yours, okay, that can be helpful because it depersonalizes it to some degree. Think of it this way. Sensitive souls have a really big sensor array. Sort of like, do you remember the day when they were like humongous satellite dishes in our yard? Yeah, I know, I'm dating myself, right? They're humongous. And right now they're like this big and the technology is amazing and they pick up more channels. But the point is that it looks big, right? So imagine yourself as a sensitive soul and you've got this amazing gift, this radar, and it picks up all 250,000 channels. Well, it's probably more like 250 billion channels, but we'll say 250,000 channels. And it's on all the time. Scanning, right? No wonder you're overwhelmed. Yeah. Because here's the thing, when we interact with other people, and even sensitive souls, they have their satellite dish or scanners scanning all these energies as well. Yeah, some people's dishes are very, very big, right? Others smaller. But the point is that it's so big that you can scan what they're also scanning and making a priority. And what's a priority? Well, a A priority could be something you are consciously focused on, or a subconscious worry or pattern that you don't even know you are locked into. And what happens with that subconscious pattern is that it's sort of like attracts alike, the law of attraction in a way, that whatever is in resonance with that underlying worry or trauma that has not fully healed will basically speak really loudly. And that's the channels you tend to pick up louder, hence the overwhelm. Because there may be, I don't know, a couple million people feeling stressed on the planet at any time. And if you're on that channel, wow, yeah, you'll be really busy with overwhelm. But it doesn't have to be that way. And a lot of people say, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do one extra thing. I get that. I have been there. Absolutely. But here's the thing. Most of the time, the overwhelm is less about the to-do list and how much you have to do than it is about clarity in many different ways. Clarity of not just, what's the most important thing to do today, like the priority, right? But clarity has to be actually around what channel you're focused on or what channels you're focused on. Because guess what? When you have a billion channels that you are sensing and are aware of, and you can feel if you're clairsentient in the body, yeah, it can be pretty hard to do anything at all. So people sometimes ask me, Dr. Karen, how is it possible you get all that done in a day? Like, it's kind of like alien, And well, several ingredients. One, of course, is that I'm very, very passionate about my mission in helping sensitive souls elevate their sensitivity into a superpower, right? How to harness your gifts, fulfill your purpose, and create a life of joy. That's pretty much the name of my book. I'm really passionate about that mission, very focused on that mission. So that is always front and center. So that does help bring clarity to what my actions are. Now, that being said, there are things to do, right? There's like, I don't know, driver's licenses to update, passports to update, audits to look at, all this kind of stuff. And if you actually were in my body for a moment and in my life and looking at all the to-dos, you might feel overwhelmed. And you might even feel really intimidated with everything that is on my plate. But it doesn't need to feel that way. Now, I came across, speaking about it, I came across, we have this audit, I think it's workman's comp or something happening in the business. Now, I could be overwhelmed with that, or it could be almost like pretending to be not overwhelmed and doing the opposite, which is ignoring it, right? And then I have a tendency to go, well, it's not a priority, so I'm going to ignore it. However, the universe gives us those abundance challenges to focus us, believe it or not. It seems like it's a detractor, but it's actually a focus and showing us where we need to go. So here's the thing. One of the things to get out of overwhelm and get into clarity is to ask yourself this question: what is the purpose of this, whatever's happening? What is the purpose of this? Because there is a higher purpose. So when you just stop and ask that question, which takes what, a couple of milliseconds, right, to even think it, then it starts focusing your mind. The mind then goes, oh, well, okay, I'll work on that one. And then what happens is that satellite dish with all these, you start tuning into the channel that you need to tune into, and then you get your answers. My friend Keith Leon talks about the sit, ask, and listen method. I call it STOM, stillness through observing internal movement. And in this case, there is a chapter in my book on it for so-called negative emotions. Most people would say overwhelms negative emotions. So we're just going to label it that for now, the negative emotion. So I'm going to share with you in a moment, what to do when you're feeling overwhelmed. So yes, you can. Number one is reframe if you will, that overwhelm, going, oh, wow, I'm just listening to a lot of channels right now, right? Number two, whatever's happening in your life, you think to yourself, well, what's the higher purpose of this? So in the case of the audit, I was very quickly, when I, sat down for a minute, easily determine, that makes sense to me, why that's happening for the highest and greatest good. It's not because I did something bad or wrong or, blah, blah, blah. What I realize is that it helps me with clarity. I realize as a business person that there are certain things that I agree to, you sign off on, being an LLC or an S Corp or whatever it is, that you agree to, that I may not know the full story, how it works. Because how many times have you had your phone update or whatever, and there's this big long terms of agreement? How many of you actually read the entire agreement and comprehend every single bit of it? Like anybody? Anybody? Crickets. Okay. Yeah, me neither. One could judge it as a manipulation, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to just forget about that for a moment. But the point is, there's an opportunity for clarity, and the universe will sometimes bring that opportunity. So why? So we can make a choice, because our lives are all about making choices. Yes. And so, for example, the brain might go overwhelmed. Oh my God, there's an audit. What do I have to do this? What do I have to, hundreds of $1,000s. What do I, whatever. It's like, actually, I didn't go there, but people could, right? People would freak out about an audit. I sleep well at night. Not because I'm going to win or lose or anything like that. It's just like, oh, okay. So what is this teaching me? What's the learning in this? How is it helping me? And I go, oh, it's helping me to have more clarity in business. A lot of us are like, I want prosperity. I want to have a great business. I want to earn lots of money. I want to help lots of people. That's great. That is awesome. Good for you. And guess what? In the current structures of the world, it is necessary to really understand what's going on. So I'm looking at this thing going, like Greek to me, right? And I realize there's that starting of that overwhelm, that fuzziness. Why do I have that? Because I don't understand the paper. So I ask, guess what? Clarity of stillness. So I do exactly what I share with other people, my VIP clients and students. I go to stillness. We're going to do this together in a moment. I tune into the body. I feel the energy in the body. And then I deposit the question. Why is this for my highest greatest good? What's it teaching me? What am I learning? What is it focusing? Like a version of that question, right? And these days it's very quick. It's like, boom, there it is. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense. There are these corporate type structures in the world. Maybe they're meant to be confusing. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm not judging it. And it's like, if I'm going to be a business person, well, maybe I don't want to be a person. Maybe I just want to be a woman. But anyway, if I'm going to have a business in the public, there are certain norms, rules, structures in place. And if I am to be prosperous in that realm, it's really important for me to understand what these structures mean and what they do. So it's pointing me to my ignorance of what it is I actually signed up for. And that's a good thing. Because now I can prioritize. Well, the universe showed it to me, right? So prioritize, okay, well, now the next question in stillness is, what do I do now, right? And almost immediately came in, find an expert. Oh yeah, of course. The reason I got that temporary, it's not because it's like I owe a lot of money or blah, blah, blah. It's like I don't necessarily, right? Because I had questions. I had questions like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. The auditor said we met, we did not meet. Why did she say that? Like all these things, right? So it's like, find an expert. Oh, you mean someone that I hire, not the state. Wow, what a thought. Yeah, yeah. And so every turn where there is this seemingly, cause of overwhelm in the outer world, we can go inwards in stillness and ask the question, how is this serving me? Or whatever question you want to ask that's similar, like, how is this for my highest and greatest good? What is it there to teach me, et cetera, et cetera. Just that's one of those questions. And in stillness. And oftentimes you'll get the answer, and that answer just focuses all that sensing into that one path. Oh, there. Overwhelm over. Overwhelm is over. Of course, you take some action, but what I've noticed is that people that have half on their to-do list of what I do, okay, are 10 times, 50 times more overwhelmed than I am. Not because, my stuff is better or worse or, more stressful or less stressful or anything like that. They actually take that much longer to do it because they don't have their sensors focused. And they don't know how to ask the question. And they don't realize that what's happening out there is a reflection of in here, and the universe is just trying to help you by giving you direction. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with all the things you need to do, right? Don't know how to prioritize them, don't have the energy for it, whatever. Sometimes the answer is actually fairly simple. So for me, it was like, find an expert. Oh, okay. Very cool. Overwhelm over. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into that clarity space. I'll walk you through it real quick. And then we'll do some 𝗟𝗚𝗏 healing activations as well, just to see what's available for clearing and healing. The point is that this, when it becomes habitual, where you go into overwhelm, you go into your body, you ask the question, the clarity comes. And it's not like the next steps for the next 7 days. It's like today, right now. And that step could be take a bath or walk outside. And you're like, well, what does that do? That's the clarity. Because then you'll be revealed. You'll be in a better state of being. Then the next step will reveal itself in the next step. So yeah, going into stillness is very important, but you don't have to sit there 60 minutes with your eyes closed and a pretzel to do it. All you need to do is feel your body. Now, some people are like, I don't know how to do that, right? Well, I do walk you through the steps, the STOM, Stillness Through Observing Internal Movement, step by step in chapter 4 in here. That's the most important chapter of the whole book. And everything, your whole life, if you did STOM day in and day out, your whole life would transform very, very quickly. Things would just be easier, things run smoother, money comes. It's quite amazing. But because it's so simple, understandably, people are like, oh, it has to be more complex than that, right? Not really. But I'm going to give you the second piece in the practice today and do some activations for you in case that is helpful and supportive. All right, so let's get into stillness through observing internal movement. First thing, I'm going to have you rub your hands and then wiggle your body and get like some chi and energy flowing, because some people aren't so grounded, so they can't even feel their body. Stamp your feet, whatever it takes. Okay, and then relax. If it's safe for you to do so, close your eyes. Focus on your hands or wherever you were moving. Feel the energy pulsing in your body. Follow that flow wherever it goes. Those 3 steps done in less than 30 seconds. That's exactly what you do when you're feeling overwhelmed. When you're feeling overwhelmed, that's an emotional feeling. Bring it to the body. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can literally go, what does overwhelm feel like in my body right now? And then tune your attention to your body. It could feel like tightness. It could feel like contraction. It could feel like pain. It could be whatever. Just do that. 30 seconds, perhaps a minute max. Now, once you get good at that for 30 seconds, then you can add a step. You can say, what does overwhelm feel like in my body? Tune in, and then ask your question. How does this serve me? Or what's my next step? Or what am I to learn? And just Feel. Continue feeling your body. Because what happens is that higher self can now talk to you. Because you're not focused on your mind going blah, 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 blah. You're focused on your body and what it feels like. And then oftentimes you will get a very subtle idea. And that's what you act upon. So stone for negative emotions. Remember, you can open your eyes if they're closed now. Remember, it's not about your outer world. It isn't. If you are like caring for someone, being a caregiver is very difficult, can be overwhelming, and it could very well be in stillness. You know, how is this for my highest and greatest good? You might get the thought, ask for help. You might get the thought, wow, I'm resentful right now. What does that feel like in my body? And then, why am I resentful? Oh, because somebody could help, but isn't naturally helping because they don't know to do that. So I need to ask them for help, right? Or say no. Whoa, sensitive soul saying no. Like, these are very, very simple things, but you can't hear the guidance from your higher self if you're not paying attention. How do you pay attention? Go into stillness. How do you go into stillness? Focus on the body. What's the energy running? Even if you're angry, overwhelmed, upset, freaking out, fearful, go into the body. What does the body feel like in that state? Don't try to change it. Be in that state of fear, overwhelm, and feel it in the body. And that just allows whatever it is to often clear through. And the stuff that isn't yours often clears out too. And then ask your question, how's this for my highest and greatest good? And you will get that answer. It takes practice, yes. But once you got it and keep practicing it, oh my gosh, just totally revolutionize the quality of your life. Okay, let's do some activations. Continue feeling whatever energy is running in the body. And I'll do some activations. And if you want to receive, go ahead and just make that intention to receive. So I now command that anything causing unwillingness and resistance to fully being embodied, feeling energy in the body, and getting clear answers be healed and resolved in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease, being, and grace. Is now commanded that your awareness of the now and the whole be completely balanced so that most of your awareness, especially while awake, is in the now, fully embodied. Anything preventing that be healed with ease, being, and grace in the highest and best way. I now command that the allowance of your source team to help you, guide you, protect you, anything preventing that be healed with ease, being, and grace in the highest and best way. I now command that any unwillingness to fully experience life as a human, with all of its complexity and emotions, that be healed and resolved in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease, being, and grace in the highest and best way. For this and all the blessings, we give our thanks and gratitude, so be it, and so it is. Awesome. Would love for you to post in the comments what that activation was like, any ahas that you had, and maybe a commitment. 1 minute a day, perhaps, of going into, if you are overwhelmed, going into stillness through observing internal movement and just asking the question. You might not perceive the answer, but that's okay. Just ask the question. Here's the steps. Overwhelmed. Feel the overwhelm in the body. Ask the question, how is this for my highest and greatest good? Or what's my next step? And just continue feeling the energy in the body. If you notice the drop in, great. If you don't, that's completely fine. After a minute, stop. Do it again later. The next day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever serves you. Because most people who are overwhelmed can do a minute. And then, got to be honest, you get a lot more efficient by practicing stone. Okay, so some announcements for today. Light Warrior Radio, we are re-airing a very important episode with my colleague and friend, Ken Rohla, about the power of the pyramids. Yes, in fact, one of the things I like to do is project an etheric pyramid around me and those that I work with in the one-on-one VIP program. And we do all the healing work within the pyramid during that session. So you can do that at any time. And he's going to tell us some of the sciencey stuff that he's done with pyramids and some pretty amazing stories. Okay, so since I wish to stay on YouTube, I'm not going to tell you those stories. I'm going to have you go ahead and click the link at 12 noon Eastern on Monday to listen to those amazing stories and learn about the power of the pyramids. So some upcoming events: Cracking the Chronic Illness Code is happening in early May. So we're helping out with the launch. I'm actually one of the speakers. And the funny thing is, I actually asked the organizer, are you sure I really should be in it? Because I could talk about all the other stuff I used to talk about, right, when I was part of integrative medicine, a holistic doctor. But I do all this weird stuff over here, sensitive soul stuff, aliens, blah, 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 right? And Dr. Nafisa's like, we need that. We need people to understand that overwhelm, the sensitive souls, their clairsentience, all that kind of stuff. We really need to talk about that because no one else is talking about that. I was like, okay, we're on. So, yes, so I'll be sharing that aspect of it, but you may be really benefiting from all the other doctors and specialists on this talking about the biological, physical stuff that you may not know about that can be really helpful and can even inform what questions to ask in Topican Healing if you're Topican Healing level 1 or level 2. So it's free to join this telesummit, and we'll put the link below that you can join and check out all the different offers there, the different free talks. You know, so if you've got fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, mold sensitivity, chronic autoimmune allergy, something like that, you may really benefit from the information there in addition to the stuff that I teach. So I'll put that link below. Also, the Higher Help Method from 𝗟𝗓𝗚𝗎𝗢𝗡 Master, completely new, amazing book, hit #1 very, very quickly. Really fun book. And Tammy, actually, we send people to Tammy to have them learn how to use the pendulum. And she's very good at teaching that. So once a year, we send people to her course for that. And this is a book that is dives deeper into the different ways that you can get higher help. So there's some angelic stuff in there, all sorts of really, really cool stuff. So love for you to help the book launch and get a copy of that book. So I'll put that link near this video as well. Anytime, you know, buy the book. It's Tammy's fantastic and amazing. Last but not least, Light Warrior Training Camp. We have early bird savings right now. And the #1 testimonial we got from the Superpower Camp, like when we asked people what was the #1 benefit that you got, was hanging out like face to face with like-minded people who are sensitive souls, playing, singing, dancing, training, healing in the same place. And it's very, very special. So I'd like for you to join me. This may be the last North American Superpower Intensive that I personally teach. So join us this year, Lake Claire Lodge, July 14th to 19th. And if you're on my newsletter list, awesome. There may be some other announcements below, but I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time. Happy clarity through stillness. Bye for now. Much love.